It's settled in. Drop me a note in the comments. Let me know you are here, my friends. Good morning, good morning, good morning. Hey, Steve, how you doing, man? Hang on. Good morning, good morning, good morning. Happy Monday. What is going on, my friend? Drop me a note in the comments. Let me know you are here. How was your weekend? Did you get to make some beautiful shit happen this weekend? Welcome to Men Up with Mike. My name is Mike Cameron, and I will be your host. This is a show where we talk all things personal development, leadership, and more importantly, what it means to be a dude, what it means to be a man. Steve, my weekend was decent. I got chosen in the lottery for Sin 7, so I am going back to Sinister 700 miler solo again next year, 2021. So I am super pumped about that. If any of my run friends are watching, they had to reduce the amount of runners based on current COVID restrictions. Hopefully that'll change and they can increase it. But what that meant was they were selecting runners by lottery. And I was thrilled to get the email on, I think it was Saturday morning, maybe it was Friday morning, but I got the email telling me that I had been selected for Sinister 700 miler. So I am going back and I'm super pumped, super pumped. How about you, Steve? What's going on? What'd you do this weekend? What did you get up to? Hey, good morning, Anne. How are you, my friend? How was your weekend? What is happening in Toronto these days? The big smoke. Good stuff. All right, so today I want to talk a little bit about what it means to be a good man. You know, we have this conversation a lot. We have this conversation about, so-and-so is a good man. Good morning, Michelle. Oh, Steve's starting school today. Huge life change. What are you doing in school, Steve? Let us know. I would love to hear. Often we hear this term, so-and-so is such a good man. Hopefully they're saying Mike's a good man. But what does that mean? What does that actually mean? And how do we actively, intentionally strive to be a good man? In my book, Becoming a Better Man, on the back cover, hey, good morning, Aaron. I talk about the 3 things I know to be true. 1, masculinity isn't toxic. 2, there are a lot of good men in this world. And 3, I can always be a better man. So drop me a note in the comments. Let me know what being a good man means to you. I would really love to have that conversation here today and just talk a little bit about the different ideas, different aspects. Steve, addiction and community service worker. Fantastic, my friend. Good for you. Congratulations. That is awesome. All right, Anne is over on the website. There's a little bit of a lag, so Anne bops over to Facebook and says hi, and then pops over to the website, mikecameron.ca. 2 things before I forget. 1, Make Beautiful Shit Happen t-shirts are up for sale on the website. And number 2, I added a page or a product so that if you were looking to buy a copy of my book for somebody else, but you're a little concerned about how do you hand somebody a book that's titled Becoming a Better Man, because it kind of insinuates that maybe they're not a good man, which really isn't the case at all. So I actually put up a product on my website that you can purchase a copy of my book as a gift. It will send the recipient an email link to a video that I did just talking about what the book is all about, and sort of kicks it off with somebody who cares about you an awful lot thought you might enjoy my work, and so much so that they shelled out a few bucks and bought a copy of my book for you. So if you've been thinking about gifting this book, that may be the way to do it. All right. Steve says, being true to yourself allows me to be a good man. That's a great one. Being true to yourself. So first and foremost, when we talk about being a good man, understand that that is a choice. It's an active choice, like we talk about here a lot. All of these things in our life, all of who we get to be, all of who we are choices that we make. We are defined by the choices that we make along the way. This is why I talk so much about the importance of learning to soar for men, to slow down, to open up, to accept what's there and reconnect with that inner self. Because we make decisions based on emotion. And if we are the sum of the decisions, the choices that we make, we better make damn sure that we understand the underlying emotions that are driving those decisions. Hey, David, how you doing, brother? Good to see you here. Aaron says, for me, it's about taking responsibility for my actions. I own what I do. Absolutely. A good man owns what he does. A good man takes responsibility for everything that happens to them, everything that happens in their life. So again, coming back to that step number one, how do you be a good man? You make the choice to be a fucking good man. That's where it starts. That's where it starts. And that's not always easy. And that's not where it ends by any stretch of the imagination. But certainly that is where it starts. We make the choice. We make the choice to be intentionally focused on becoming a good man, on becoming a better man. We can always be better men. Steve, being true to yourself allows you to be a good man. Absolutely. But then the question becomes, what is ourself? How do we be true to ourself? But that's a great point, because I think that is one that we often miss. We think that being a good man is all these external things that we do. And in reality, being a good man is really just having the courage to show up and be seen for who you truly are. Again, about actively making that choice to do that, to drop the mask, the armor, to drop the stereotypes. In my book, being a man is more than just not being a part of the problem. I talked about this in my Dear Men article that I wrote in CBC. If you haven't read it, Google Dear Men CBC and it will come up for you for certain. But I talk about this a lot in that article. It's not enough for us as men to just not be part of the problem. We have to actively decide to be part of the solution. And whatever that is for you, whatever that challenge, that problem, that obstacle, that piece that you want to address, for me, it's domestic violence. That obviously shapes a big part of who I am. And when I choose to show up in that realm, I make that active choice that, okay, I have to do more than just not be part of the problem. Certainly, I don't abuse women. I am not violent towards women. But I have a responsibility as a dude to be more than just not part of the problem. I have to choose to be actively part of the solution. And for me, that's a large part of what it means to be a good man. To choose to be part of the solution. Not just accept that I'm not part of the problem, but to actively be part of the solution. Steve says, I think who we are is always evolving and always and allowing that growth. Being good isn't just not being bad. Exactly. Being good is not, that's well said, Steve. I like that a lot. Being good isn't just not being bad. We have to actively make the choice to be a good man. And Steve, hats off to you for striving to become a better man, to being a good man, and taking your addiction and community service worker course school. That's really cool. So what does that entail? I would love to know. Maybe you and I can have a conversation offline sometime. I would love to know what that entails for you, what kind of schooling that involves. But really, again, as guys, like, how do we actively look to become part of the solution? A good man, for me, it's about integrity. It's about values. You know, I talk about this a lot as well. It's more than, you know, again, sorry, let me back up. For me, it's about values. And I talked about why I stopped setting goals. And instead, I create values, I set intentions, and I set milestones. Because for me, to be a good man is values-based. All of the decisions that I make come back to my values. Is this in alignment? Anne says, every time you've referenced man, I've substituted person, and it definitely applies. Absolutely, Anne. Absolutely, Anne. You know, I believe that. It's just that, again, as men, we hold on to this moniker of being a good man very tightly, very strongly. So I think it's worth having the conversation. What does it mean to be a good man? And the next question I would have for the men out there is, how often have you reflected on your views, your beliefs? What do you believe it means to be a good man? And then take those beliefs and stack them up against how you're actively living. So take those values and stack them up against how you're actually living. So again, values, intentions, milestones. Once we've defined those values, once we've set those values and then defined them, because again, what do our values mean? How do we define integrity? So for me, integrity is about living in alignment with my values. If your value is honesty, what does honesty mean to you? And then the next question is, how do I know that I am living with integrity every single day? How do I know that I'm living honesty every single day? How do I know that I'm living the hard work value that I so believe in? You know, we talk about this a lot with the guys that I coach, and in my speaking engagements, I talk about this, that for me, I create mantras to go along with my values, ones that I can grab very quickly when I find that I'm not living in alignment with my values. So if we're talking about work ethic, for me, procrastination is a big, big problem. So my mantra when it comes to work ethic is do the fucking work. Do the fucking work. So when I get caught in that cycle of procrastination, I grab onto that value, I grab onto that mantra attached to that value, and I can just say to myself, do the fucking work, Mike. Hey, good morning, Shane. How are you? Michelle says, I often hear he's a good man because he babysits and he helps do the dishes. This is horseshit. You made kids, raise them. They're yours. You live in a house, clean it, get groceries, do the laundry. Don't expect a fucking trophy for maintaining a dwelling that you live in. Yes. Hey, Karen, how are you? Garth, good morning. As a woman that was raised by a good man, married to a good man, and raised a good man, I can't express how valuable you are. Oh, Karen, thank you so much. So what does it mean to be a good man to you, Karen? I would love, love, love to hear what that means to you. Garth works with fathers. Garth teaches fathers to be good men, or supports fathers. Maybe we don't teach people to become good men. We support people to become good men, because we've all got it within us. But sometimes we need a little support, because again, as guys, we're taught that we got to do this shit alone, and we really don't. Anne says, the site needs emojis. If doing the dishes, you use as a favor to your partner, as a benchmark for being good, you're woefully blind to being part of the bigger patriarchal system. A good man reflects honestly on the way he shows up in the world. Yes, absolutely. And that was one of the pieces that my new friend Neil pulled out of that article, that CBC article that I referenced, where I talked about, if you've never had to think about this before, you're privileged. And the problem with privilege is it's often blind, but it's time to take the blinders off and really have a look at how we show up. In that context, I'm talking about violence prevention, but that holds true in any arena. What does it mean to be a good man to you? How do you measure that? How do you know each and every day that you are showing up as a good man? Do you actively reflect on that, or do you just coast through life assuming that you're a good man because you believe that you're a good man? What do you do to actively ensure that you are being a good man on a daily basis? My challenge for you today, hey, good morning, Adam. Shane says he always likes how Michelle holds back. Sorry, guys, I've got, again, a couple of different places I'm broadcasting to, so I'm looking at this side and this side to pick up the comments. Good morning, Adam. How are you doing, my friend? Yeah, so again, it's more than just not being part of the problem. It's more than just not being a bad man. It's about actively choosing to be a good man, reflecting on what that means to you. What is that in your truth? And again, maybe my truth isn't your truth, and that's okay. And that's okay. But take the time to look, to reflect, to actually look at how you are showing up in this world. I talk about this often as well. One of the scariest fucking things we can do as a dude is to drop the mask, drop the armor, stand naked in front of the mirror, and actually look at who we are. Holy shit, man. That can be really scary. It can be really scary. And I know it. And I know it. But I want you to know that I'm here to support you, that Garth is here to support you, that Steve is here to support you, that Aaron's here to support you, that David's here to support you, that so many good men are here to support. But collectively, how can we be better? Because we know there's always room for improvement. Again, it's why I wrote the book. It's why I wrote the book. This isn't me preaching at you how to be a better man. This is the story of my journey trying to become a better man. Some of the lessons that I learned along the way, and some of the lessons that I have yet to learn. Karen says, a good man has an internal fire to protect innocence. They value life. They can swear, get scared, get confused, but regardless, they show up. Fuck yeah. I like that a lot. A good man has an internal fire to protect innocence, value life. They can swear, get scared, get confused, but regardless, they show up. Yes. Well, I'm good at showing up. I'm good at swearing. I value life, and I definitely get scared. And Michelle will assure you that I get confused. Almost shaming someone for not checking could be Jesus Christ superstar. It may be okay to be a good person without a CV of kudos. Okay, elaborate on that a little bit, Shane. I'm not suggesting you need kudos. I'm suggesting that each and every one of us needs to take the time to pause and reflect on how we're showing up in this world. And I will hold to that, absolutely. It's not about shaming anyone. I'm not suggesting you stack yourself up against how many likes or how many comments or how many kudos anybody else has. But I think it is important to actively check in with yourself. From that Peter Drucker Management School, What gets measured gets managed. And it's easy to be willfully blind. And I think far too many of us do that. I did that for a very long time. I just put on this autopilot. I'm a good man. And that's the end of it. And then I go. But do I actively check in to see how am I showing up that assures me that I'm a good man? And again, my version of good man might be different than yours. And I'm not going to hold you to my standard of good man. That's fine. You need to decide what your standard of good man is and live up to that. But you can't actively live up to that if you're not checking in with yourself every once in a while. And again, that's the important piece is we have to actively check in with how we're showing up in this world. And that can be a scary thing to do. So I'd love to know if I'm missing what you're saying there. But certainly not trying to shame anybody for the amount of kudos or pats on the back or their resume. I'm just suggesting that as a dude, we need to actively reflect on how we're showing up in this world and not float by on autopilot, not float by not being a bad man. Because I do believe we have a responsibility to be a good man. And I think we can all do that. And it's a choice. This is what I started with. It's a choice. It's a choice that we all have, but it's a choice that has to actively be made. And for me, it's a choice that has to be made every single day. It's not a one and done thing. Shane says, I do not actively check, nor would I know where to, but I hope others would say I have the qualities. Yeah, so but Shane, I'm going to challenge you on that one. This is where, for me, and I would suggest that hoping isn't a great strategy. So why not make it an active practice to sit down and reflect on how am I showing up in this world? Because I bet, like what I've found, what I do find still, when I sit down, and that's one of the ways I do that is through journaling. And when I sit down and I write about how I'm showing up in this world, there are often times where I think, oh, fuck, really? Did I actually do that? Did I actually show up like that? That's not who I want to be. One of the other things that I actively do to reflect when I'm looking at a decision that I have to make is I check in with myself and I say, okay, what would the man I want to be do in this circumstance? And then I do my best to do that. Shane says, I would like to think that the example of what I do and who I am shows others what one avenue of being a good person is. Perfect. Yeah, that's awesome, Shane. Absolutely. Absolutely. But again, if we don't check in, I mean, this is no different than any employee or anything else. If we don't actively check in and just make sure that we're on course, again, you get 1 degree off course, you're a mariner, right? What happens if we get 1 degree off course and we don't check that course? Over time, all of a sudden, we're way off course. So I think any good mariner is going to be checking to make sure that we're still on course fairly regularly. I mean, maybe not today because we've got computers and you just plug in stuff and it happens. But that's all I'm suggesting is that there is value in actively checking in on a regular basis. Again, I'm not going to hold anybody to what I believe a good man is. You have to decide that for yourself. And if you're living up to what you believe is a good man, then boom, that's awesome. That's fantastic. Again, my version of good man, this is my truth. This is what I believe to be a good man. And I believe that actively checking in ensures that I stay on course to being a good man. You missed the lake. Yes. Anyways, my friends, this has been a fantastic discussion. What does Anne have to say? In my life, I've found many men measure their goodness with a teaspoon while they should be using a 4-cup measuring cup or a bucket. Oh, there you go, Anne. There you go. All right, friends, this has been a fantastic conversation. Thanks for weighing in. Thanks for tuning in. Adam says he's got to get his run in. He'll check in tomorrow. Yes, I got to get a run in too. Are you training for anything, Adam? I want to know. Anyways, my friends, as always, continue to make beautiful